Good afternoon, I'm Louise Kelly and I'm a BIM project manager with Fulcro. Today I want to talk to you about the tools and processes that I use on a daily basis to help with delivering projects from screen to site. Firstly, I'm going to give you a little bit of context with regards to my background. I've graduated as an architectural technician in 2006. Since then I've worked in architectural practice, where I would have been producing drawings and managing projects on site in a primarily 2D environment. Generally, when issues were found, they were on site and cost money and time. I then moved to a multidisciplinary consulting engineering firm where our primary industry was pharmaceutical and industrial work. So there was less allowance for design changes and extra cost and time on the projects. So we decided to implement Revit as our primary CAD program. The first project that we would have used it on was that project, the image on the top, which was that's a large pharmaceutical facility, and then we went on to do more multidisciplinary fit out work, as you can see the clean room in the bottom image. We then decided to use Revit as the standard for all projects in the company, and we implemented BIM standards. Although this was in Ireland where PAS 1192 was not applicable, we still tried our best to implement it and follow it at the time. So I'm currently, like I said, a BIM project manager at Fulcro. So Fulcro Engineering Services are a multidisciplinary consultancy built on a foundation of providing coordinated MEP fabrication models and drawings. We are part of the greater Fulcro group with our partners Coins, and this also includes Metz Architects and Coins Fulcro, our applied technologies arm. Recent projects we have worked on, this is Birmingham New Street Station, Papworth Hospital we're currently working on, Block W4 and W5 Regent Street, and B2 Pacific Park Brooklyn, which is the world's tallest modular building. So this is the path that I'm going to take you through. So there are obviously numerous different tools and processes used to successfully get projects from screen to site. I'm going to focus on issue detection and management, otherwise I'd probably need a lot longer of your time. As you know, clashes and issues in projects can negatively affect project delivery, in particular the timeline and the budget. I'm going to speak about the processes we use to identify issues, to resolve them, and to escalate and then track them. I'm just going to put a disclaimer in that this is not a sales pitch, this is just the tools that I use and that I find useful in my day-to-day job. So the primary tool that we use for clash detection is Autodesk Navisworks. We also use Celebri for rule-based issue detection. This is an example from the Advanced 2 model. I've used this, although they're not really clashes, because we will provide, we'll run a builder's work tool on this model before the stud walls are issued to site. So when we set up a Navisworks model, we set up a clash detection matrix. Each test gets a unique identifier to identify which tests the clashes then relate to. I've done an example here, so architectural walls versus pipework. There's 481 clashes. If I was to review each of those clashes individually, it would take a lot of my time. So to sort these issues quickly for review, we then use a tool called iConstruct to move the clashes into relevant groups, which are then easier to review. So the sample test I'm using is architectural walls versus pipework, and there's 481 clashes to begin with. So this is the iConstruct tool. This is the interface that we use. There is, I don't know if you can see my pointer. No, you can't. So this is the clash manager element of the tool. I have enabled a proximity group tolerance, which you probably can't read, of 0.5 meter. So this means when I apply a proximity filter, it will group clashes within 0.5 meter of each other together. So this is the interface. So I've imported it imports the Navisworks clash results, and then you can apply different filters using the column on the right hand side. So these are all the filters that come in either with your Revit model or your Revit or Fabrication MEP. So any of the properties that are associated with the model will be available here for you to select. There's a lot of Autodesk materials and stuff like that that come through as properties, but what I have used, for example, on this test is I've used, so CR1, if you can see on the top, that base constraint name, so that is the architectural walls, and that's the level that they are associated to. So this will sort each clash by level first, and the next thing I've done then is done by proximity group. So it'll be any clashes within half a metre of each other within that level. Once I grouped those clashes, it got the results down to 134. Still not ideal. I probably would go back and try and apply a couple more filters to see if I could narrow that down. For example, with walls, one that I use a lot is the element ID of the wall, so that I can create a report over which walls have the most clashes. So once we've grouped our clashes, then we create a markup to highlight the issues to other members of the team. So the tool that we use internally is Newforma, and here I've shown an example of a markup that was created on the right hand side, and then I've just zoomed in so you can see that we've used a model to get the issue on the left, and then the issue on the right is something from a drawing. So what we find with Newforma is that we can relate our issues to the drawing or to the model, or multiple drawings or multiple models or schedules that affects them. So then they're associated to that. They have the related items, and you would get multiple related. You can either look at the markup and see which drawings affect it, or you can look at the drawings and see which markups affect it. You can then assign them to specific team members and see which are open, closed, or still needing attention. When new revisions are added, you can then check the because it's already associated, you can check the markup and see whether that new revision has closed that issue. So if the issue isn't resolved by the markup isn't resolved in our internal process. In some cases, for example, on Advanced 2, we use BIM Collab to escalate the issue to the wider design team. So this example is a Revit issue. I believe this was in the design process, as it's now closed. So the screenshot on the right-hand side comes from the Revit add-in, and the thing that I find really interesting about BIM Collab and BCF in general is that the components that are related to the issue are tied to the issue in BIM Collab. So you've got 155 components, I think that says, is related to this view, not the issue, but these are the items in the view. So the issue can then be tracked. You've got a history of what's happened, who's taken what actions, you assign it to particular people, you put a date or time that this needs to be resolved within, and you can see a history of what's happened, who's made changes and who's resolved the issue. You can also assign properties that help you create a dashboard. This is just the example project, but for example, you can see which phase of the project the issue relates to, whether it's a design issue, whether it's a construction issue. And you can also see the status of these issues, whether they're still active, whether they're resolved, or whether they're closed. Another useful thing with BIM Collab is that you can issue reports directly from BIM Collab, and you can also import your Navisworks viewpoints to create the issues that way, so you're not duplicating work if you've already created the Navisworks issues. Thank you.